we have to really start with how fundamentally powerful culture is, all forms of culture, including visual art, music, language.
We can rebuild buildings, we can rebuild bridges, we can rebuild schools, but if we do not incorporate our story, our art, and our culture, and our history.
A cultural framework. The theme for our community is community, culture, and commerce. And that's not just what Aimee says, that's what everybody says.
Part of the creative placemaking work is not about arts and culture on its own, but arts and culture as it is integrated in how we think of healthy communities.
What's important to you, what's important to me, how might we use arts and culture to advance our joint missions?
So everyone, I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Thomas Klingler from Tulane University. With the fortune of meeting him, how long ago was it?
Well, 5 years ago?
5 years ago?
Something like that.
Yeah. So you can talk a little bit about that? Or not?
A little bit.
A little bit. So I'm not going to talk about that. I'll let him talk about it. But Dr. Klingler, you want to come up here?
Sure. I don't think I need the microphone. I have a loud voice. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. En
Vous
français.
allez commencer en créole. Et oubliez de faire ça. Ça fait mon plein content pour d'être là ici avec nous autres, avec vous autres dans Vaillant Village ça là. Et aujourd'hui m'a parlé vous autres pour la place, lien qui gagne entre la place et langage là. Et puis m'a parlé pour langage créole et français dans la Louisiana. So who understood what I said?
I got most of it.
That's not
Moi-même, moi,
Ah, tu comprends ça? Oui! more people than I thought. So if you understood, you probably had a sense of inclusion. You were included in the message that I was giving, and you probably figured out that not everybody else understood, so it even gave you more of a sense of being part of this group. And who didn't understand what I said?
Oh, not now.
A few people didn't, and you didn't, and you probably felt a little bit excluded. You weren't part of this inner group that understood what was Louisiana Creole. And what I said was simply that I'm happy to be here with you all in this beautiful city, and that today I'm going to talk about language and place, and more specifically about the French and Creole languages in Louisiana. And don't worry, I'm going to switch quickly to English also on my PowerPoint, which is probably too small for you to see much anyway, but that doesn't matter. What I hope is that the sound works here. And so I'm going to ask two questions in talking about the link between language and place in general. What is the connection between language and place in Francophone Louisiana? And as we move forward into the future, what will French and Creole, what place will they have in defining the characteristics of this very special place that we call South Louisiana, and the smaller places within South Louisiana, because there are a lot of linguistic differences even within this region. And the answer to these questions is not obvious, in part because French and Creole seem to be disappearing fairly rapidly. If your eyes are better than mine, you can see these census figures from almost 20 years ago. No, more than 20 years, almost 30 years ago now, when in 1990. And these are the labels that were used in the census: French, Cajun, Creole. I think that You can't imagine that these people all spoke something different from these two other people. It's their problems of labels in French Louisiana, and so the people who said they speak French probably mainly spoke what people typically call Cajun, what I tend to call Louisiana French. And then we come to 21 years later, 2011, you can see that the numbers have dropped by over 100,000, pretty much dropped in half. So you can see the progression here. So what is the role of language in defining this place, and what will it be as we move forward? And we can expect, of course, a further decline in these numbers. Children aren't learning these languages at home. We have immersion programs, right? The immersion programs, we hope, are creating new speakers of French. They're creating speakers of standard French. They're not creating new native speakers of French. They're certainly not creating speakers of Louisiana French or Louisiana Creole, but it's something. But it's a question worth asking. And it's also, it's interesting to note that not only is Louisiana losing these languages, or the speakers of these languages, rapidly, but also in talking about the relationship between language and place, the actual physical places where these languages are spoken are sometimes in danger of disappearing. And you may be aware of the rather dramatic example of the Île Jean-Charles in Terrebonne Parish, which is actually being deserted. The government is paying people to move because it's simply going underwater. And of course, much of coastal Louisiana which is where French tends to be concentrated. The Île Jean-Charles and Terrebonne Parish are some of the most heavily Francophone parts of Louisiana, if not in terms of numbers of speakers, in terms of proportion of speakers. Communities like Pointe-aux-Chiens, Île Jean-Charles are very heavily French-speaking areas, and they are disappearing, which of course leads to people being scattered around other parts of the state or the country, and therefore no longer having their language communities, therefore having fewer opportunities to practice these languages. But so I've asked these questions, but I'm not really going to provide answers to them today. It's just a way of framing what I'm going to talk about, and that is my efforts in recent years to try to better document French and Creole in Louisiana, which at least is a first step in trying to preserve them. If people want to continue speaking them or create new speakers of these languages, and it is happening to some extent, then we have to have documents of what these languages were. And so I've been working on a number of projects in recent years, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today in the few minutes that I have. And one of the earliest projects I worked on was the Dictionary of Louisiana Creole. And that was with Albert Waldman and Margaret Marshall and Kevin Rotet. It appeared in 1998, very quickly went out of print and has never been reprinted, unfortunately. And the press lost the plates, and so it would be possible to reprint it, but it would be a bit of work. You can, however, buy a CD of it from the Creole Institute at Indiana University. So if you want to get an electronic version, that is available. And Christophe Landry took the information that was in this dictionary and transformed it into his own orthography for Louisiana Creole that he created, and you can also get to that online as well. I think he calls it Louisiana Creole Dictionary. I'm pretty sure that's the name that he gives it. So this is where I started out in my work in Louisiana. I went to Pointe-aux-Chiens Parish and did a lot of field work for this dictionary at the same time that I did research for my dissertation on the Creole of that area, which eventually was revised into a book published in 2003 called The Creole, if I could turn my tongue like that, The Creole Language of Pointe-aux-Chiens Parish, which was mainly a historical and grammatical study of the language. And then more recently, a much better known book is The Dictionary of Louisiana French, as spoken in Cajun, Creole, and American communities. Also, the main editor of that, as of the Louisiana Dictionary Creole, was Albert Waldman, but there were 8 other co-editors, so I haven't listed everybody here. It was a real team project. This, however, is still widely available. You can get it online, but you can get it in bookstores around the state, Barnes and Nobles, etc. And it's only between $35 and $40 for a rather significant piece And that's just an example of, it's impossible to see, but that's what you find when you get inside. The work on this took about 10 years to put together, but one of the really exciting things about it, to a lesser extent the Dictionary of Louisiana Creole, because it got a lot less visibility, but this one really, I think, helped to give a sense of value to the French language in Louisiana that sometimes people felt it didn't have. A lot of people think that a language doesn't exist if there aren't formal grammars written of it and dictionaries. Cajun French isn't a real language because there's no dictionary of Cajun French. This isn't a dictionary of Cajun French per se. Notice the title. Louisiana French as spoken in Cajun, Creole, and American communities. Why that? Because we didn't want to link the language to a particular ethnicity, whereas the label Cajun is very much associated with a certain ethnic group, the Cajuns, but there are people who call themselves Creole, who may call what they speak Creole, but sometimes it's actually the same thing as the French that's represented in this dictionary. Sometimes it's what I call Louisiana Creole, what was represented in the Louisiana Creole dictionary, but many people who call themselves Creoles actually speak something closer to this type of French, what I call Louisiana French. And the American Indians in Pointe-aux-Chiens, in Île-à-Jean-Charles, and some other parts of Louisiana also speak essentially the same kind of French. So it's one French with some variation spoken by various ethnic communities. But what I've been involved in for a long time, actually, but more recently quite intensively, is working sometimes on my own, sometimes with my students, to do video documentation of the French spoken in Louisiana. And I started as early as 1995, 1996. I got some money and was able to take a video crew to Pointe-Coupee Parish, to St. Martin Parish, to Vacherie and a few other areas, and make some pretty high quality videos. I had trouble getting them edited and getting them distributed because at the time digital editing really wasn't available. But in more recent years that has happened, and that has allowed me to do a lot of projects with my students. The first one I did on a very small scale was in Pointe-aux-Chiens in Terrebonne Parish. But then 5 years ago, my students and I hooked up with NUNU and George and Mavis Fruget, and we had a wonderful several weeks traveling from New Orleans out to NUNU's, and George and Mavis and others helped put us in touch with many, many French and Creole speakers in that area, but also in Arnaudville, Cecilia, but also Catahoula, Breaux Bridge, some of the surrounding areas. And I just want to, well, this is not an example of that. Actually, this is an example of one of the last, and he's now unfortunately dead, but one of the very few remaining French speakers at the time. This was done in 2003 in Cloucheville.
Et à l'école, tous les enfants parlaient français?
Ben, allons dire comme si. Presque tous les parents, comme moi, tous mes premiers cousins parlaient français. Et leur premier cousin, sur l'autre côté, parlait français. Mais quand ils allaient à l'école, ils parlaient français, mais then, ils ont arrêté ça. Ils ne voulaient pas que tu parles français à l'école. Et ça restait comme ça. Fait, really, il était assez à monter les miens de parler français, que s'il allait à l'école, il ne voulait pas parler français là-bas. Et je ne connais pas comment ça se fait pour ça, parce que tous les autres qui viennent, les Philippines, et les Mexicains, et tout ça, ils parlent leur langue. Voir qu'ils ont pris ça pour justement les autres. Ça me parle bon, comme si c'était bien, mais ça a été fait, c'est sûr.
The video that my students and I did through our collaboration with NUNU's and people in Arnaudville is called Le Bijou sur la Bayou Teche, and it is available on YouTube. So anybody can Google Le Bijou sur la Bayou Teche if you know how to spell a little bit of French.
Nous va parler un petit peu de le Creole, qui vient de Sicilia, un autre petit village d'ici. Je join in, et puis, tu sais, ça me gêne pas, moi.
C'est différent?
Un petit brin, ouais.
C'est dur à comprendre?
Oh non, non.
Il y a quoi, c'est quoi qui est différent, par exemple?
Ouais, je vais payer des coups, tout couri, tout vini, quelque chose comme ça.
I have $5.
J'ai 5 piastres, mais dès que c'est différent, I don't know.
J'ai 5 piastres.
Mon gain 5 piastres.
Mon gain 5 piastres. J'ai 5 piastres. Mon gain 5 piastres.
Moi, j'ai 5 piastres.
Mon gain 5 piastres.
J'ai 5 piastres.
On dit gain 5 piastres.
J'ai 5 piastres.
Mon gain 5 piastres.
Mon gain 5 piastres.
Mon gain 5 piastres.
Dis pas les qui m'ont dit.
Dis pas les quoi j'ai dit.
Dis pas les ça j'ai dit.
Dis pas les ça m'a dit.
Dis pas les ça j'ai dit.
Dis pas les quoi j'ai dit. Dis pas les ça m'a dit.
Dis pas les ça m'a dit.
Ma femme a parlé en français un peu. Parce que comme c'est une différente langage, bon, elle, on parlait différent. Moi, je suis chanceux, je voulais bien comprendre les différentes. Je ne connais pas exactement comment dire ça. Je peux le dire en anglais, dialecte de français. Il y en a un là, qui va 8000 d'ici, du sud, d'ici, en Sicilia, ou Henderson ou Pombro. C'est différent comme jour et nuit.
S'il est payé assez, il va arranger le char.
Il va arranger le char si ça paye assez. Il s'est arrangé le char s'il était payé les assez. Ils vont arranger mon char si je paye assez.
Il s'est arrangé le char s'il s'est payé les assez.
Il a arrangé le char s'il se l'est payé assez bien.
Il a arrangé le char si vous te donnez assez l'argent.
Il s'est arrangé le char si tu payes assez.
L'arranger le char s'il paye assez.
Il a arrangé son char s'il le paye assez. Et je peux chanter puis danser réellement bien.
Oh, il peut danser puis chanter bien, bien.
Il peut chanter et danser justement bien.
Il peut chanter et danser bien. Il peut danser puis chanter bien, bien.
Oh, il peut chanter et danser beaucoup bien.
Il peut chanter puis danser bien.
Parce que voilà, la langue, la gohette. On ne peut pas s'arrêter. Pour un bout de temps, ça semblait comme si on n'aurait pas pu être français. Et on ne veut pas s'arrêter. On fait ça gohette.
J'aimerais bien que ça continue. Mais...
Ça va gohette. Il y a plus de ça.
J'aimerais le voir. Un jour peut-être.
Mais je vais toujours parler comme Cécilia.
Je vais parler comme je veux.
Moi, je vais parler comme Cécilia.
Comme je dis, c'est toujours les États-Unis. Hein.
C'est tous les bons français.
Je vais parler comme je veux.
Ouais. Quand j'ai premier venu à Arnaudville, tu ne connais pas comment j'ai eu pour... J'ai pas eu pour juste apprendre à parler l'anglais. Il fallait que je parler français quand j'ai venu à Arnaudville. Parce que j'ai trié après moi, parce que je parlais comme le monde de Sicilia. Ça fait que je forçais assez pour apprendre à parler comme le monde d'Arnaudville. Aujourd'hui que je suis plus vieille, je dirais, tu connais quoi? La langue aussi bon que les autres.
C'est vrai.
Tu crois que ce serait une bonne chose si les enfants dans la Louisiane apprenaient à parler français?
Oui.
Qu'en faire?
Parce qu'on a besoin de préserver la langue française.
Oh, mais je trouve que ce serait bien bon. Les autres apprennent français à l'école. Et je vois aujourd'hui que j'ai fait une erreur pour les montrer à parler français à la maison. Parce que, quand tu as des jobs, tu vas, pour connaître. Si tu ne connais pas les français, tu as une meilleure chance avec ton job. Et pour moi, c'est un honneur qu'on ait parlé le français. Pour moi, c'est un gros honneur.
So what I wanted to talk about, my most current project, it's not really my project, it's one I'm involved in, once again with Albert Baldwin of Indiana University and Kevin Rotat. This is called a Differential Historical and Etymological Dictionary of Louisiana French. And the way it differs from the Dictionary of Louisiana French as spoken in Cajun Creole and American Indian communities that I just showed you is that that dictionary is what I would call comprehensive. That is, we tried to record everything that was part of Louisiana French. And it didn't make any difference whether it was identical with standard French or not, the French of France or not. We wanted to show everything that existed here in Louisiana, which is a little unusual. Most of the time when people write dictionaries of regional varieties of French, they figure, well, we're not going to deal with anything that's in standard French because that's already handled. There are lots of dictionaries of standard French. And so they only deal with that which is distinct, either in form or meaning from standard French. And in ours, we wanted to be comprehensive. But this time, it is differential because we had to restrict the number of items we were going to work on, and we go in depth into the history, the etymology of these words, and especially we compare their use in Louisiana to their use in other parts of the Francophone world where they might exist. And I'm going to give you a couple examples. We're still in the initial stages, and I've been working on a couple of words in the B's. That shows you how far we have to go. And the first one is bossa. And I don't know if you speak Louisiana French or Creole and know this word, but a bossa can mean either a halter for a horse, or obviously not today anymore, but in the 19th century you can find traces of this word where it refers to enslaved people newly arrived from Africa. A crucial distinction in the world of slavery from Creole slaves, those who were born in the colony and later, of course, the United States, because, of course, those enslaved people were already acculturated, they spoke the language, etc. And so there was a big difference between the newly arrived slaves and the Creole slaves. So bossa has those two meanings. It comes from Spanish. That's where we get it, although it probably came into Louisiana from the colony of Saint-Domingue, the French colony of Saint-Domingue, which became Haiti upon the slave revolt there. It's an interesting word to me because it shows Louisiana as being anchored to some degree in the Caribbean region. Because you find this word in Haitian Creole, and in a few others of the French Creoles of the Caribbean Basin, but you don't find it anywhere else in North America. It's not attested in Quebecois French, it's not attested in Acadian French, it's not attested in France, it's only in Louisiana French and in the Creoles of the French Creoles of the Caribbean. So it shows a kind of a unique positioning of Louisiana with regard to other varieties of French in the world. And then another word, which you may know, is boucan. Boucan, which means smoke, and the related verb boucaner, to smoke meat or to smoke fish, or to fumigate, as in the sentence, allons boucaner les maisons pour tuer les maringouins. Let's smoke the house to kill the mosquitoes, a practice that, before air conditioning and before mosquito repellent was fairly common. This is a very interesting word. It's of Native American origin, South American. The Tupi tribe is a tribe from Brazil originally, and so it is a Tupi word originally, bocain, which refers to a wooden lattice used for smoking or grilling meat. But unlike bozal, which of course is Spanish origin, so this is of New World origin, it is of South American origin, but it is found throughout the Francophone world. It's widely used in Canada, both in Acadian French and Quebecois French. It's also used in France, not in the sense of to smoke a house, but to smoke meat, smoked meat. You may know that Ville-Plate is la capitale de la viande boucanée, the capital of smoked meat. Anybody know that? They have a festival every year at Ville-Plate. And so this is a particularly interesting word to me because unlike bozal, it shows that Louisiana has these connections to the rest of the Francophone world, to South America and the Caribbean. All of the French Creoles have this word. So this really puts Louisiana French in connection with the rest of the Francophone world, with South America, with Native American languages, in a way that Bosal doesn't quite do it. Bosal really shows the peculiar position of Louisiana. These are just two words that I think show the multiple influences that have contributed to making Louisiana the place that it is. Because of course these are words, and my interest is language, and today the relationship between language and place, but also obviously language reflects the culture. These are cultural elements of Louisiana, especially boucan, la viande boucanée, etc., and shows the very unique position that Louisiana occupies in the United States, in North America, within the wider Francophone world.
Does anyone have any questions?
Well, yeah. Okay.
En français.
En
créole.
I congratulate you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I ask my translator for translate for me. Monique, you are going to translate for me in English.
Première ligne, hein? Et vous venez de...
Voilà. Je ne me suis jamais senti aussi chez moi qu'en Louisiane.
Why don't I translate?
Non.
Oh.
Oui, c'est mieux.
Il comprend? Il comprend le français?
Oui.
Ah, vous parlez français? Ah bon, voilà. On est maintenant dans la semaine française.
C'est ça. Il est plus expert en traduction.
Voilà.
I've never felt so much at home as in Louisiana.
Je disais que je ne me suis jamais senti aussi chez moi qu'en Louisiane parce que en arrivant ici en 2016, j'étais venu pour la première fois pour la semaine française. Je me suis rendu compte tout de suite que il y a la langue créole, il y a le français et il y a aussi des traits culturels entre les Cajuns et les Haïtiens.
And there are similar cultural traits in common between Cajuns and Haitians.
Mais j'ai une préoccupation.
But I'm worried about one thing.
La préoccupation réside dans le fait que j'ai constaté que le nombre de locuteurs français a tendance à diminuer ici.
Yes, he's worried about the reduction in the numbers of French speakers here.
Hier, l'un des intervenants a donné un chiffre qui à mon sens, est alarmant.
So somebody yesterday gave an alarming figure.
En 1970, il y avait près d'1 million de locuteurs français, cajuns et créoles ici en
In
Louisiane.
1970, there were nearly 1 million speakers of French, Cajun, Creole here in Louisiana.
Et aujourd'hui, en 2018, il n'y en a que 150 000.
And now there are only about 150,000, which is probably...
Je me rappelle avoir posé la question hier, mais il me semble qu'elle n'a pas été répondue. Et la question, c'est de savoir comment arrêter cette hémorragie. C'est-à-dire, j'ai rencontré des Louisianais qui sont plutôt de l'ancienne génération, qui parlent le français, et leurs fils et leurs filles ne parlent pas français. Ils se disent, je suis de la génération perdue.
So how do you stop this hemorrhaging? He knows people who speak French, but their children don't speak French. So there's the lost generation of childbearing age that don't speak it.
Étant donné que vous-même vous êtes francophone, vous parlez français, ma question est de savoir quoi faire pour arrêter cette hémorragie. Et à ce propos, avant que vous répondiez à la question, j'ai un commentaire.
So before he has me answer the question, he has a comment.
Voilà. Et la situation qu'il y a en Louisiane sur le plan linguistique, c'est à peu près la même chose en Haïti. Oui,
The linguistic situation in Louisiana is about the same as in Haiti. I don't believe that, but that's what he says.
Oui, ça vous étonne. En Haïti, quelle est la situation? La population est créolophone.
Right. The population speaks Creole.
C'est-à-dire, s'il y a un ciment entre les Haïtiens, c'est la langue créole.
If there's something that holds Haitians together, it's Creole.
Mais le français est prépondérant. Dans l'administration, est prépondérant, c'est-à-dire, le français ne se trouve pas sur le même pied d'égalité que les créoles.
French is nevertheless the more prestigious language.
Le français, c'est la langue des intellectuels, et la langue de l'administration, tous les documents sont en français, et le peuple parle créole.
But everybody speaks Creole.
Maintenant, depuis 1987, avec l'adoption de la nouvelle constitution après la chute de la
Since the
dictature,
Constitution of 1987, after the dictatorship of the Duvaliers was eliminated,
eh bien, l'article 5 de la constitution dit clairement que le créole et le français sont les deux langues officielles.
Article 5 of that 1987 Constitution says clearly that French and Creole are the two languages of the Constitution, or of Haiti, de la Constitution.
Oui, constitution haïtienne.
Of the Constitution, right.
Et la constitution crée aussi une académie créole.
Right, the Constitution creates a Creole Academy.
Maintenant, est-ce qu'en Louisiane, il ne serait pas intéressant d'avoir quelque chose qui ressemble à une académie pour protéger la langue française, la langue cajun, la langue créole, par exemple? Voilà, c'est ça.
Shouldn't there be such a thing in Louisiana? I don't know. I mean, I would to answer the last part of the question first, I would say, to what extent does the Académie Française, to what extent does the Académie Créole, which was just created a few years ago, finally, after all these years, to what extent do they really influence the linguistic developments in the country? I would say probably not very much. So I don't think a French academy in Louisiana would probably do much to save the language. So what can you do to stop the hemorrhaging? I think there's very little you can do, because Louisiana Francophones chose a couple of generations ago to stop teaching French to the children. There are a tiny, tiny handful of people in Louisiana today of childbearing age who can speak French. And if you make it Louisiana French or Louisiana Creole, it's it's even smaller. I know a few people like that, kind of militant defenders of the French and Creole languages, and they will and are teaching French or Creole to their kids, but they're a very, very tiny number. I think French as a native language is going to be really hard to maintain in Louisiana. But you've got resources like the videos that I wasn't able to show you. You've got the dictionaries. We've got a lot of documentation of Louisiana French for people who want to pick it up. I think it's going to be more adults that pick it up. That it's happening already. If there's one place where the French language in Louisiana remains rather vibrant, it's in music. So not so much with Zydeco, it seems, but with Cajun music, there seems to be this sense that to play and sing authentic Cajun music, it's got to be in French, and it's got to be in Louisiana French. And so I know young people, some of them aren't so young anymore, but I still think of them as young, but people who have taught themselves Louisiana French in order to be able to play and sing Cajun music. And that's a very interesting development. They're not native speakers of the language, but they are speakers of the language. I think French and Creole are going to continue to play a role in Louisiana. It's going to be increasingly a symbolic role. People are going to look to those languages as representative of their heritage and their culture. But I don't see how it's going to remain a language of the home taught to children growing up. There are the immersion schools, and that's good because we're having children who speak French. Again, it's not their native language, but it's not Louisiana French, it's not Louisiana Creole, but it's something that nevertheless connects them to their heritage. So I have to say I'm kind of pessimistic about the possibility of maintaining French and Creole as vernacular languages spoken in the home in Louisiana. I'm not pessimistic about their continued presence here and their continuing to play a role in Louisiana culture and heritage. That's part of the question I posed. What is that role going to be as we go forward? And I don't have the answer to that. I don't know, George. There's another question, but I probably used up 3 times my time.
Jean-René, tu comprends?
Un peu?
Un peu. He understood only a little.
Okay, I can talk to him later.
Yeah.
Same way I thought. That Codeville was about preserving the language, the French language, in either its French or its Creole or Cajun form.
Well, that's a very interesting question. That's been debated since the founding of Codeville, to what extent Codeville focuses on Louisiana French, and to what extent it focuses on French. And in reality, so far, Codeville's main activity has been promoting French language programs in the schools, and by necessity, more than anything else, those are standard French language programs. Because if they're Louisiana French or Louisiana Creole programs, where are the teachers going to come from? Where are the materials going to come from? Do the parents really want that? They might want foreign language education, but then they want it to be such a specific language to this area. So, but it's very interesting because the original name of Codafil was, I think, the Council for the Development of Louisiana French. And then they changed it around to French in Louisiana. So the question has always been there, and it's been a rather contentious one at some times in the history of Codafil, precisely because many people thought you should be focusing on Louisiana French or Louisiana Creole. And it's not, I would say, very much that today Codafil is very much open to that and supportive of Louisiana varieties of French. But in practical terms, teaching those in the schools is a real challenge, and it's all they can do to try to develop the French programs as they are. That's a very good question.
All right. Thank you so much.
I'm Aimee Smallwood. Can y'all hear me okay? Yeah. I don't need the mic? Okay. I'm with the Louisiana Cultural Economy Foundation, which is a statewide organization. We were created in 2005 by Lieutenant Governor Landrieu before he became mayor in New Orleans, and we were created outside of government. Essentially, we were put together in order to be a sort of a pass-through for money so that the Lieutenant Governor could execute some programs for arts and culture and not have the money be all tied up in the red tape of the state. And of course, being founded in 2005, we immediately had Hurricane Katrina, then we had Rita, and the organization became a grant maker all over the state for recovery purposes. But since then, we sort of had to find our groove. And the National Foundations lost interest in us. They lost interest in helping with the recovery. They felt like we were done. But we had all these folks who were creatives resulting from creative placemaking projects or whatever. And we wondered what it was, what purpose we could have that would help satisfy some of the needs of the creative community. Along with creative placemaking, it's helpful to develop services and programs and infrastructure. We call it an overused word, ecosystem. An ecosystem that supports creatives in their efforts. There are nonprofits that support them by hanging their exhibitions, by presenting their performances, those sorts of things, but we don't do that. We are a nonprofit that supports the creative industries and those who work in them. And in particular, we work on the business side of things. Our motto is, in Louisiana, culture means business. And part of the reason that we say that is because the result of that study that was done that, what was his name? Malcolm talked about, our study in 2005, was that when you put the creative industries all together and look at their economic impact on the state, it was the second largest economic driver. It was a huge piece of news, totally lost in Hurricane Katrina. And so we're probably at some point going to update that so that we can reintroduce the fact and reinforce the fact that the creative industries are hugely important to Louisiana. Yes. We were second. Who knows what number one was?
Oil and gas.
Oil and gas was farming. Healthcare was number one. Yeah, so it was a very interesting study. We're probably going to do it again. So anyway, we define the creative industries in a very broad way. We like to say, to put it simply, that it's all the things that make us unique. And as you can imagine, that's a lot of things. So when you put those things together and call it the creative industries, it's a very large and impactful group. I do draw the line at martial arts and sports, because I get asked that all the time. They'll say, well, martial arts, the word artist, no, I'm sorry, I can't go there. So we have offices in New Orleans and in Lafayette. We've been very involved in Acadiana, particularly, We've been very involved in New Orleans particularly. We're very small. We have 2 staff members. I'm one of them. We focus on 2 major things. One is the business side of culture and arts, and the other is the health of our creative workers. And we've been very involved in the smoke-free initiative. We're successful at passing the ordinance in New Orleans because we brought in the musicians who are so supremely impacted by smoke-filled venues. We're now working on Baton Rouge, and a statewide ordinance is probably coming. So, I love to show this slide. I cannot remember who I stole it from, but I love to steal people's slides that are already done and not reinvent the wheel. This shows you the economic value of the arts. We all of us on the inside, we know the intrinsic value of the arts. But when we're in the business community who holds the purse strings and is often the part of the policy-making procedure, they don't always understand the intrinsic value of the arts, which is why sometimes we have to switch up and speak their language. So we do, like Malcolm, I walk very often in the world of economic development, and so we try to keep in mind how uninformed they often are about the true value of arts and culture. And so, I like to pull up charts like this that show the economic impact. Because that is speaking their language, and it helps them to come to the table and invite us to the table. Often, arts and culture is left out of policy discussions. Often, we're left out of budgeting discussions. I sat on the panel for the strategic planning process for the City of New Orleans for a 5-year economic development plan. New Orleans, with Mitch Landrieu as its leader. It was like pulling teeth to have arts and culture included. New Orleans. And Matt, you know the impact that music has to that city. There is no dedicated source of funding to support them. There is no dedicated office. You have to train people to speak that language, to come to common ground. Is like teaching a whole new vocabulary. So we do it in a lot of different ways. We have a program called the Catapult Fund, which we do with the Jazz and Heritage Foundation. This is a program, it's basically a hybrid 4-month boot camp that we created specifically for creatives to learn business skills. At the end of the boot camp, they have a business plan. They've learned a lot of what they need to do to be successful. And we divide up a pot of $75,000 among the finalists. We take in about 12 finalists to go through the program. We're just about to do this again. The application process is closed at this point, but this is a way to help small businesses to see themselves as an important part of the business community. All of our Catapult finalists this year and last year were in the culinary industries. That's such a hugely important industry to our state. Many of our culinary artists work out of their homes, fix box lunches and sell them to their friends and neighbors. And what we do through this program is help them get out of that environment and into a more professional one where they can be more financially successful and recognized for what they do. So that's going on right now. The Louisiana Culturepreneur Fund is a small loan program that we have. We were piloting it, and now we're out of the pilot phase. What we do is offer low-interest loans. They're easier to get than going to a bank. Creatives often have a lot of reasons why they won't qualify for a bank loan. We are looking for creatives who have needs for something that will help them build their ongoing revenue. We're not particularly interested in loaning funds that are for a one-time thing. But if it's something that's going to strengthen your skills, a piece of equipment that you need, something that's going to help you to be more self-sufficient. That's what we're looking for. This program is now statewide. We piloted it in Acadiana and New Orleans, and we got an interesting number of, we got more applications from Acadiana than we did from New Orleans. So keep them coming. Please spread the word. We're really interested in getting these funds into the hands of the creatives who need them. There's a 3-year payback period. We work with the creative to determine what sort of educational needs they have. We all know and recognize that creatives tend to focus on the process and the product, but not on the business side of things. And so we have training that's available. We also have another program that supports the folks that work in the creative industries. This is called the Culture Up Incubator. This is in New Orleans. We're hoping to replicate it at the St. Luke in Arnaudville when it's open and up and running. This is an environment where creatives who have very small businesses and sort of are in the early stages of their business can come and have office space. We have mentors who are available to them. They can work with people who are marketing professionals, app developers, CPAs, whomever they need access to. We work to close that gap. They're all members of the Chamber of Commerce because creatives tend not to think of themselves as businesses, and this is, again, another way we get them to interact. On the other hand, we want to have the folks who are in the Chamber of Commerce exposed more to creatives because they are businesses. So again, it's all that crossover that any crossover that we can find, we pursue. And I'll just tell you about these guys who are in our incubator. This is New Orleans. Isn't this car cool? It's actually a souped up golf cart. And a very expensive one. They built this vehicle. It seats 6. It has high definition monitors on the backs of the seats so that they can add more to the experience. But these guys do those history tours in the French Quarter for people who don't want to walk. Oh, okay. So if it's hot or you're wearing high heels or you're cranky, whatever, this is the route to take. So these guys have launched their new tour, and they're in our incubator. This is a group called 2 Girls, 1 Shuck, and they are a traveling oyster bar, and they are operated by all women because they recognize that women don't shuck oysters, and they don't get hired as shuckers, so they train women to shuck oysters. They started out in our incubator with 1 full-time staff person and 3 lady shuckers. And they now have 3 full-time staff people and 24 lady shuckers. So they've grown tremendously. And on the end there is a business called Realized Designs. They came to us. They were only with us for like 6 months before they outgrew us. So they do product development from basically beginning to end. So if you have an idea, a special shoe or something, you can go sit down with them, and they're so amazing. They can help you figure out how to launch your product, how to market it, how to create it. And they're now in 4,000 square feet. So again, they outgrow us too. It's a 2-year program. Again, I'm hoping that we'll be able to do it in Arnaudville and help some of the creatives there. So those are some of our programs that we do, and I really hope that you'll go to our website, which is culturaleconomy.org, sign up for our newsletters and e-blasts, because we not only try to put out our own information, but we share statewide information as well, and work to support creatives. Any questions? Catapult is technically open statewide, but the issue that we've determined is that the training itself takes place in New Orleans, and it's hard to commute. Yes. Now, I would love to replicate this in another part of the state. It would just involve finding a financial partner like Jazz and Heritage. They raised the money to support the program through Jazz Fest. We've talked about that. The trainers resist that because there's such an incredible dynamic that takes place when you put 12 creatives in the same room together and keep them there for 4 months. I really think that the answer would be to find another funding partner in Acadiana and replicate it here. It'd be easy to replicate.
Do you think that Lita and the Opportunity Machines, we approach them?
I haven't asked them.
Okay.
You know, part of the beauty of it is that it's not just the expense of the training, but it's that we also give away $75,000.
I think that Lita and Opportunity Machines would be a natural partner.
Yeah, I've met with them before.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's.
I think that they have some local stakeholders as well.
Yeah.
That would be willing to help with this.
That'd be great. I would love to replicate it.
Amy, can you tell us how you got from being on state funding to now you have nonprofit sources? Like, what, is that right? Or do you
Being on state, no, we were never on state funding.
Oh, okay.
Technically.
How did you get the funding?
Technically, we were never on state funding. You know, essentially when we started, Mitch was putting a lot of state money through this organization to do projects that he wanted to do. And that was not sustainable once he became mayor.
It was a special initiatives.
Yeah, well, it was special initiatives and other sources of the state. When he became mayor, and he took the organization's director with him to the city of New Orleans, he just sort of transferred his interests to New Orleans. So the board had to really think about what they wanted to do. And the fact that it was called a foundation in the beginning was really a misnomer. Because a foundation in my brain is an organization that has a bunch of money. And the only reason the organization had any money in the beginning was because of Katrina and Rich. So that went away. And I had to take a long, hard look at the organization and say, well, what is it and does it need to still be here? And I reduced the size of the organization pretty significantly and then chose to create partnerships where the partners have the money to invest. And so it is still a small organization, but most of our activity financially flows through other books. Like our loans don't go through our books. The grants don't go through our books. They go through other organizations' books. So we've evolved to be more of a natural nonprofit than we began. Yeah.
And was that hard to do, to find the organizations to do, I mean, that you're championing?
Well, in a way, it's just a matter of working with partners and helping them to understand that your idea is their idea.
And are they mainly funding partners?
They're not funding us. They're making the programs financially feasible.
Yeah.
So, which we're thrilled about.
Yeah.
You know, it means we don't have to go raise the money to give away, to loan, to you know, to execute these programs, because there are organizations out there who are, you know, looking for rich partnerships, and really, when I say rich, I mean really in depth. And by giving them these programs, we were just doing what they needed anyway.
And is there a pretty good, where I did a whole study of creative capital in New York, and they have they give grants, but they also do, loans, and they have a pretty good rate of, repayment. So has that been an issue for you at all?
Well, again, this program was a pilot program, so it's new.
Yeah.
We don't know long term. We've had no problems so far. And our intention is to build real relationships with the borrowers and help them to fulfill whatever needs they have for training or resources. I can send them to our mentors to help them be successful so that they can repay the money. We're not just handing them money and saying, now fly, be free, and go, be successful without any tools.